What's up, Dad? What's up, good brother? How y'all be? Been here on the grind, knocking out these, knocking out these dishes. What's up, James? Appreciate y'all tuning in. Ain't gonna be long, just something real quick. Something. Oh, you with your mom? Tell her I said hello. Glad she's glad she's out of the hospital. We sending health and wellness, health, wellness, and light. So, something I was thinking about is, well, first of all, I got to give a shout out to Young E. So sometimes you might see a brother here named Young. Peace, Brianna. She said doing the dishes. Yep. Yeah, I'm at it. Um, I got to give a shout out to a brother named Young E. Sometimes you'll see him in the chat, and so this brother be putting me down on books. Okay, and so he turned me on um, to this book by Barbara Hand Clough. She's an astrologer, but I can't remember the book. The name of it? It's, I think it might be Kundalini Astrology. And so I'm just saying because I got to give credit to him for recommending the book and to the author that where I got part of this inspiration. Um, and it's something, you can read things. A lot of times what we're doing, we're reading and studying, we're confirming things that we may already be engaged in, or maybe something that we kind of echoed, but then somebody has actually done the a measure of work to put it into a cohesive form. And so if you've been watching this channel for a while, maybe about 3 years ago, maybe I started using this term common sense metaphysics. And that don't go over well with some folks. Um, but what I read in her book, it made me feel validated. Okay, um, because she explained what I was trying to say astrologically. Okay, and basically what she says, I'm paraphrasing, is that the first house in the chart is your identity, right? That's where the ego expression emerges out of the pool of unconsciousness. Okay, where suddenly I exist and I am something different than other. Okay, and so the first six houses are considered to be underground or underworld or hidden. Okay, because they're below the horizon. She alludes to, if you can't find your purpose, or if you don't feel like you exactly have a strong identity. What's up, Straight Panther? Appreciate you checking in. Um, she's saying that the sixth house, which is the last house in the underworld, is key, can be key in helping to establish a healthy identity. Okay. Because ego is not all bad. All right. It just should not be the captain of the ship. And um, so she's saying in a linear fashion, we would normally think 1 through 6, because that's the sequential order of the numbers. But she's saying that if one is maybe missing, as in maybe some of us may be lacking some in confidence, well, one way to build it is to work backwards through the 6 houses in the underworld or the northern part of the chart. So what does the sixth house represent? Well, the sixth house is, when I said common sense, that could be a word associated with the sixth house. Common sense, okay? Or as my mother, who's a son in Virgo, would tell me growing up, because she stayed on me about not using no common sense. She said, use some common damn sense. Um, so it's also the the work that you do. And that work can be on several levels. It doesn't have to be prolific work. Like, I'm out here feeding people every Tuesday, giving them turkeys, and it can be just going out here and digging around in your yard, or planting a garden, or or working with your children, you know, working on your job, day to day, old things that don't seem like that like there's anything deep or majestic or spiritual about it. Those things, okay. Um, the sixth house is also health. You know, the sixth house is what sacrifices are you making? Um, the sixth house is the house of harvesting. Okay, and this ties into the whole concept of manifestation. Okay, the sixth house has a lot to do with you working your own magic. Okay, um, because if you go to the house of work, then it is insinuating that you already are abundant. Okay, I want to make that point. When you can accept work, it is accepting abundance. And so that's one thing to keep in mind. But doing those, working through those different areas of life helps one to develop a sense of purpose. Because in the world we in, you can be made to feel like if you don't have certain things, in place, that maybe you're not as important, you know, because everything, or not everything, but a lot of how our world is set up is based on your identity, you know. It over exaggerates the ego. It over exaggerates your appearance, um, how you are received by others. And so by others being so delineated, then it then puts a hard line on you and your identity. And so much energy can be put in that. It's like me and Dap laugh, we'd be laughing about Think Media, and it give you a lot of good tips on how to grow your channel and do videos and this and that. But if you really just be honest, a lot of that stuff is garbage. A lot of it is telling people just get in front of the camera and just press record, and just start talking. But what about, do I have anything to say? Do I have anything of substance? Do I have anything to really contribute? And so when you start pondering those questions, those are sixth house questions. What's the work? What's the actual work that I'm looking to involve myself? How am I preparing my life to be harvested and exchanged in the world? And then that works its way back to building a stronger identity. But the world we in is more focused on just build your identity, and your acceptance in the world will help fill in all the rest, you know? Um, and that is not conducive to building confidence. It might build some measure of influence, but it does not build confidence. It might build arrogance, but arrogance and confidence are two different things. Arrogance comes from a state of lack. I'm lacking something and I have to put on a front to convince you that I'm not lacking. And that's why you see a lot of people like that use the word y'all, you know? It's always a delineation between you and them. It's always y'all, 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 to suggest that I don't identify with y'all and I'm not in the same situation as y'all. I'm above y'all. And see, that's always a sign of somebody that there's an emptiness there that can't be filled, or maybe the work has not been done to fill it, and so there's a constant need to project this idea of being superior. That's not confidence. Confidence is actually not boastful. It just is. How do you know it just is? Because it can be sensed when you're present in an environment, and your level of confidence can sometimes rub people the wrong way, even if you haven't opened your mouth, even if you're the most pleasant person. You stay out of people's way. You're cautious. You move carefully. See, and you're not making any statements about who I am. You know what I'm saying? But some people will be bothered because your aura suggests the level of confidence you radiate. And many of the people you might encounter are actually attempting to be arrogant, but the true them, the true empty them, the true lacking them can sense your confidence, meaning your harvest, you know, the abundance of supplies you have in the storehouse, in the pantry, in the cupboard, you know, and and a level of envy settles in, you know, a level of hatred can sink in. But I think when we are honest with ourselves and then we take these assessments and we're like, okay, what's the work that I've been given? How can I work this to the best of my ability? And somewhere along the line, talking to my mama yesterday, she was just talking about somewhere along the line, some of the things have been lost, you know, that make civilization flourish. A sense of responsibility for the role that I play in the whole makes the entire civilization flourish when the individuals have a sense of responsibility, um, and it's high level metaphysics. That is the epitome of as within, so without. the mind is all and all is mental. So the components create the environment of consciousness that envelops the whole. And with so much energy in Pisces right now, the more putrid people become, here we go with the Bruce Lipton, the whole epigenetics. The more putrid people become, the more putrid the overall environment becomes, whether that's literally or metaphorically. You know, we contribute to our own demise, our own misery, you know, by the idea, well, I do whatever I want to do, you know, and not understanding that is infectious. That's an infectious disease right there. That attitude of it's all about me, uber selfishness. You know, you look on the highway, it's just to show you how, the highway is a great way to gauge society. When one fool takes off and he's mad because the traffic's slow and he's gonna do 100 down the shoulder, and you get a lot of that in Texas. We got these big shoulders on the side of our highways, and you you can easily see you ain't nothing to go out and see somebody doing 80 down the shoulder because they mad because the traffic stalled up a little bit. And now they're going to put other lives in danger because, hey, it's holding me up. It's all about what I got to do because I'm more important than everybody else on the highway, you know. And so the minute someone does that, you'll see other people, they might not get on the shoulder, but you'll see other cars will all of a sudden speed up and start driving more reckless because they're like, yeah, I'm important too. I'm tired of waiting. It's all you other idiots who are trying to hold me up because I have things to do. Um, you know, and so when you have a crisis like we have right now, this is why we've been conditioned to be the way we are, so that we're coming to a time, we're shifting into the age of Aquarius, the age of what's good for the collective. That's a motif of Aquarius. It's a humanitarian sign at its highest function. It's a rebel without a cause at one of its lower functions. Um, but in its higher function, it's supposed to say, look, man, how can we, figure out a way that we can work together. But here's the kicker: the Aquarius is associated with the 11th house in the chart, okay? And Virgo is associated with the 6th house. Now, if you compare those two together, they form in astrology what's called a quincunx. And a quincunx means they are 150 degrees away from each other. So an opposition is when two signs, the opposite signs, opposition, opposite. So they're 180 degrees. Now, there might be some tension and friction possibly, but at least they see eye to eye and they see each other. A quincunx means they can't necessarily see each other because it's like one's here and the other one's kind of over here, catty corner, and they can't necessarily meet eye to eye. But that does not mean that there is not a way of resolution. See, the 6th house is the maturity of the ego. The ego is starting to shift into a reality that it's not just it, that it has a responsibility, and this responsibility is not just for itself, but for something outside of itself. Okay? Because once it goes above the horizon, it's now in the world of other, the public. Okay? So if the work is applied in the 6th house, then that means when you get to the 11th, when it is time for individuals to figure out a way to cohesively work together, it is not such a foreign idea because each one of those individuals has done the individual work to develop their egos. Sixth house. They have done the individual work to develop their confidence. First house. Some people come here with an abundance of confidence. Some people have to learn confidence. If it is something that needs to be learned, then working backwards through the lower six houses is a way to accomplish that. When you find some measure of work that you find purpose in, or you whatever it is, whatever is your lot that you're given, if you can find worth in it, then it helps to build up a measure of confidence. Because there, my grandmother, I always tell the story, my family, my mother was the first one to break the cycle of being maids. Okay, my mother was not supposed to make it. She was told the best she could do was be a hairstylist or a cosmetologist. That was a black woman. Her guidance counselor told her that. I think in maybe 1963. You know, um, so she was not supposed to make it to be a teacher. A teacher used to be something. Um, why did I bring that up? Damn. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. My grandmother. My grandmother. So my grandmother, who worked as a domestic all her life and retired. She retired from this university that we in our hometown, but she worked there as like a maid. You know, um, she would carry this fanny pack. And she's a Capricorn. She would carry this fanny pack, and she would have scrapers in it, and she would have these things to like a little erasers and rags and solvents and all types of stuff. Uh, uh, all right, peace, serious. Appreciate you checking in, brother. Y'all be easy. Um, and she would always say, if you're gonna do something, do it right. And so sometimes, like if my mom and them had their class reunion, they would go out, and my grandmama would come over to the house and watch us. She would always make us work while she was there. And the way she would make you clean the mirror in the bathroom, it was like this 3 or 4 step process. You got to use the Windex. And she didn't use towel, she used newspaper. Take the newspaper, wipe it, one time. Then you might come back and spray again and wipe. Then you're going to come back with a light spray and come and wipe again. And then dry wipe that, you know. Just how meticulous she was about cleaning. I'm like, man, what is the point of this? Man. Um, Peace, wise family. You getting it in? Getting that bread, all right. Um, and so to me, that's a theme that echoes that whole Virgo thing, whatever your work is you're doing, do it to the best of your ability. And this is not like some Les Brown or um, motivation speech. I mean, there is something to that. There is something that it does for you when whatever you involved in, because whatever you're involved in, your energy is entwined with that. I don't care if it's for the man or whatever, on the job. Whatever. It's like it's an expression of your energy, you know. So sometimes you ain't even doing it for them. We know, and I ain't saying go and kill yourself either, because I ain't with that. I ain't with that. I'm not doing all the extra like, well, I noticed if we could do this, we could make our profit. Nah, I ain't with all that. Nah, nah. But what I'm gonna do, whatever bit I'm gonna do. What's up, Flex? I'm gonna put my best effort into it within reason, you know, because it represents me, you know, and that is a reverse way to build confidence. Um, and it's it's necessary now to take this type of approach. I feel, hey, sit down. I don't care. I think it's necessary. I have to wrap this up. I think it's necessary. I think it's helpful to take this approach now because, you know, at some point, people are going to have to form some type of little communities. And you may have to work with the people in your own neighborhood, push come to shove, you know. My uncle used to always say, you need to know your neighbors. And I'm not good about that. I'm not a very neighborly person. My neighbor came over here because our yard man died in August all of a sudden. Tootin' raw. You said what happened to the? Oh, I'll tell you about that. Um, um. So my neighbor came over. Listen, listen. Pick those blocks up. Pick them up. I want to pick them up. Y'all keep on arguing, and we'll clean all up, and you won't play with nothing. All right. Well, I'm tired of hearing the argument. Um, he came over and trimmed our yard neighbor, because he saw, because the same guy cut his yard too. And I told him, oh, I appreciate it. And he came over, he came over and knocked on the door, and I opened it. First, as a black person, I'm like, man, who's just knocking like the police? So I opened the door. Um, what's up, MJ? You at the work? You at the job site too, huh? Um, So I opened the door and he's standing there talking, and I was like, he's like, yeah, I heard about so and so. And he's like, well, do you mind if I come in? And I told my wife, I said, yeah, I guess that was kind of um, rude of me because I have a sign on our door in the front um, that says no solicitation. It says knock on the door if you dare, something to that effect. So I'm a sun in Aquarius. I'm not, I'm not, and that's not always good, especially now because we don't know who we might have to lean on, you know, um, because what's going on now is crossing a lot of lines, you know, it is, it is very unique. So that's just a sidebar. Um, but yeah, that's all I got. So um, to Ra asks, okay, um, what about the Emmett? When I tried to explain that to you about the Emmett Till about the Lego movie, you weren't receptive to it. So you know, I just said forget it. I teach the way I teach. When I mentioned the Lego movie to you, you mentioned something about I don't want to watch that. That's not what I'm looking for. Well, this ain't Burger King. The Lego movie, the main character is named Emmett. And so if you follow any of what Bobby Hemmett taught, he taught about how to see in a movie things that is not in there that you think is in there. They'll tell you stuff in a kid's movie because they know our minds are conditioned to think that it's just a game. I gave you the jewel. I tell you, watch Lego movie. Emmett in the movie is called the Special, and the name Emmett means truth. Aleph, Mem, Tav. So they'll go back and so you got to ask yourself, when they're storyboarding for a movie, how do they just come up with the name Emmett? Out of the blue, a million names: John, Briscoe, Jane, Bobby, Billy, Toby. No, we'll call him Emmett. That's how it works. Um, let me see. Sirius says I'm extra worked up this year during Virgo season as opposed to all years prior. But the decades before this, I was putting in 10 times the work. I don't know if old age. Okay, let me explain something about Virgo season, what's been going on. You know, what's been going on during Virgo season is that everything passing through Virgo has been opposed by Neptune in Pisces. So now the sun is opposing Pisces, opposing Neptune and Pisces because it's in Virgo. Mars has opposed Neptune. Virgo has gone through. Mercury has gone through. So part of what you've been experiencing is, you know, the the polarities between heaven and earth. If I should just to use that term, you know. Um, oh, oh, I got one on the toilet. Okay, I got to go. Um, okay, so Brianna said, I'll come back and we'll talk again about that Virgo and Pisces. I gotta go, my baby. On Netflix movie Freaks had my mind churning. It's about people with superpowers who have a special thing in their blood. Ain't that something? Wow. What's up, Ricky Shy? Long time, good brother. Wise Feminine, my bad. I saw that movie, Brianna. Very good. Okay, I'm gonna have to try to check that out. But anyway, I got to run, do my sixth house duties. But I appreciate y'all chiming in. Um, Readings are open, mastersofthecosmos.com if you want to get your birth chart read. Probably going to be running a special on there, but I'll come back and talk about that. But duty calls. Y'all, all right, I'm coming. Y'all stay down till you get up. And when you get up, stay down. Peace.